Hello, folks. I hope you're doing well today. Um, this is going to have to be basically covering some things I said recently again, trying to bring this issue together, if at all possible to do that. Not easy because I'm not remember everything, but I will link with it the videos I've already done, and therefore hopefully they can all be brought together. This is bringing together the issue of the George Floyd protests and what people are talking about, and instead of what they're talking about, what they should be talking about. Well, anyway, it's nearly 4 p.m. on the 13th of June 2020. But the issue is with this, I realised earlier I get incredibly offended when I see all this stupidity. This man died in a horrendous way. And what are people doing? Same as usual. Protest time. We might actually see ourselves on TV. That's what's going on. Same rubbish. Yeah, same subject matter. The police are racist. People are racist. We've suffered history, but only our history from a tiny point of view. Looking at it from the point of view that even if it is brown people, looking at it from the point of view that we are scared of the police because of our history. If we are scared of the police, then when the police come at us, to stop us or whatever, we act in a far more nervous way, which then makes them think that we're up to no good, or that we're going to try and hurt them, which then means that they're more likely to hurt us. So how can we deal with that? What can we do to stop doing that? No, none of that. None of that at all. Of course not. Because the thing of it is, with these protesters, there's no solutions to the issues at all, is there? Yeah. Defund the police. Really, that's going to be a solution. Defund the police. Take some statues down. And that's going to be a solution, how? Take all the statues down that involve people that were racist. How is that going to help? You really think the statues made any difference at all? Oh, the statues reminded me of the hurt that our ancestors suffered and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, whenever I see Roma, the team that plays from Rome, playing football, it reminds me of what the Roman Empire did to my ancestors. I suffer incredible anger towards Rome. No, I don't. It didn't happen to me, so why would I be hanging on to that? Why would you, as a person, there was a lady on the Now This News saying that. So, excuse me, why? Why would these statues bring back all this hurt and pain? Especially hurt and pain that you, mostly, didn't suffer. These are stories you've heard. So why not stop telling those bloody stories? It's not a magic roundabout. It's a demonic roundabout that you're on. This fear. I said the other day, I did a video the other day about the spirit of fear. Is the spirit of fear causing a racial war? Because both sides are suffering from what could be described as a spirit of fear. It's this unnatural fear that affects the way you behave. There was that killing the other day. Did a video about that when I talked about it. There was that killing where the man was crouched down talking to someone in the driver's seat of a car. And the police demanded he put his weapon down. No, his weapon was stashed away safely. No harm to anyone at all. No threat. And he was frozen for a while. He could have just said, excuse me, my weapon is in my pocket. Or it's in its holster. Yeah, I haven't got the weapon out, so I can't exactly drop it. That way, the officer may have then. Oh, okay, rightio. Right. What do we need you to do, therefore? Okay, get on the floor slowly. Problem is, he was frozen. The officer was just frozen at the point of he's got a gun, he's got a gun, he's got a gun, he's got a gun, he's got a gun. That was all that was going through her head, fear. That this man's going to kill me, this man's going to kill me, this man could kill me, this man could kill me. What's going through his head? This woman could kill me, this woman could kill me, this woman could kill me, this woman could kill me. So nobody's doing anything. Then why is it when people talk about that incident, they don't talk about that? Because of all the people you have going to the microphone, none of them have any wisdom in any way, shape, or form. It's usually even the same people, or they're talking about the same things that we talked about in the last protest. Nothing is going to change a thing here. They're just going over the same steps and the same steps and the same step. Deja vu isn't just with a police officer unlawfully killing a brown man. Deja vu is what happens afterwards as well. If you are going to make a difference, you've got to change the way you do things. So even the peaceful protests themselves are doing nothing. They will do and achieve nothing. Okay, peaceful protests won't achieve anything. When you've got people speaking on the mic saying, oh, the police have killed this person, this person, this person, this person, and you run the list off. What's that achieving? Nothing. It's not new news to anyone at all. They already know that. What are you offering when you're doing that? Why are you going to the mic? What are you bringing to the situation that's going to change a thing? Nothing at all. If you're not bringing anything, then what's the point of you getting up there? Because you're bringing nothing. One thing you've got to look at if you want to change things is police reform. So, okay, reforming the police. Yeah, making it easier to prosecute bad police officers. Really bad ones. Now, okay, what's stopping that? What's preventing that, and why is that being prevented? Even if someone was just talking about that, what's stopping it and why? Because if you're going to get to the point of police being reformed, you've got to get past those two barriers. What's stopping it and why? And if they've got good reason to fear reform, then you've got to tackle that. You've got to deal with that first before there can be reform. Now, there's got to be reform on both sides. There has to be. But there also has to be an understanding that if the police pull you over, it's probably got nothing to do with the colour of your skin. At all. There are so many possibilities as the reasons why people could get pulled over. Even why it's the same people or same people with the colour of skin getting pulled over. Part of it is that the statistics are taken from areas where they are predominantly brown-skinned people. If you were taking your statistics mainly from places like Carolina, North Carolina, South Carolina, or Texas, or places like that, you'd probably find that the police pull over pink-skinned people more than they do brown-skinned people. Because there's more of those people there, a lot more of those people there. Whereas if you talk about in a city, in an area where there's a high level of brown-skinned people, where that's predominant, well then you're going to have that happening. That's part of the reason. Another part of the reason is, as I said in the video, I can't tell you which video it was now. I've done a few. I did a video on the fact that with young people who are poor and they suddenly get rich, whether it's through playing the lottery and winning, or they make a load of money from YouTube, or they have a few records that sell and sell well, or they suddenly get involved in football and get a good contract in that area. Normally, they go and buy the most ridiculous cars you could buy. And they do. They go and buy the most outlandish. I mean, look at footballers. In the UK, the Premier League, young footballers tend to buy Bentleys and stuff like that. What on earth do you want a Bentley for? You're a young person. You're a young man. Why on earth do you want a Bentley? You may be well off now, but you're not posh. You're not well-to-do. You're a football player. So what are you doing with a Bentley? You're trying to pretend that you're now of this different class when you're not. And of course, if you've got someone who's unknown to the authorities, driving a very, very expensive car, and they're wearing the sort of stuff that normally someone's wearing if they're driving a very, very cheap car, the police are going to be interested in pulling that person over. And as I say, normally from record sales, you've got things like rap. Yeah, there's a lot of rappers in the inner cities. Most of those rappers are brown-skinned people. They're not pinky-skinned people. Young footballers, it can be 50-50. Pinky or brown-skinned. Lottery winners could be anyone. Like I say, you've got all those things that play into the picture. If you look like a drug dealer and you're driving around in an incredibly expensive car, do not be surprised if the police pull you over. They're going to do that. If you're wearing a suit and tie and you're driving a rich man's car, police are unlikely to keep pulling you over, irrespective of the colour of your skin, because you're dressed in the part. You're not driving recklessly like a hooligan. You're not dressing like a drug dealer driving an expensive car. You're behaving like a businessman. You look like a businessman. You're driving a businessman's car. Generally speaking, the police won't pull you over. They've got less reason to. There's nothing there that's that suspect. If they pull you over, then it could be a racial thing. Yes. It could very well be. And if that's the case, then if that's proven, the police officers should be fired. Absolutely. I mean, there were people talking as if even the charges that Derek Chauvin had, or the complaints that were against him, if the police were reformed, and this is where the problem comes in, they were saying that if the police were reformed, Derek Chauvin would have been off the police force. Well, there's a possibility, there is still a possibility, that all those complaints against Derek Chauvin, the man who killed George Floyd, were fake, were lies. Should he have been fired for stuff that wasn't true? That's the thing, isn't it, really? And this is where you're going to have it. If the police are reformed in the way that the police fear, certainly the unions fear, then you're going to have police officers being fired and losing everything through false claims. And there will be a lot of false claims. And it will be a case where for a while, certainly, those false claims will be seen as acceptable amongst society because of the fact you've had a lot of unlawful killings. And a lot of claims that have been made against people who have not been taken notice of. Exactly the same as the issue of sexual abuse, sexual assault, any sexual misconduct that wasn't taken seriously before is now taken seriously to the point that someone's life can be destroyed. For making a joke years ago that was sexual. There was that politician, I've forgotten what his name is, seemed like a lovely man, Democrat, and the Democratic Party didn't even try to help him out. He was destroyed. His career was destroyed because he did a video or a photo. He did a photo where he was with a lady, and the lady was, I think, asleep, and he pretended to do the hooters on her breasts in a photo. And he was a young man. This was about 20 odd years ago, 20 to 30 years ago. Of course, it was something he shouldn't have done. Even in those days, as a joke, it's a bit sort of, oh, really? Really? Okay. And then, of course, the lady's acting all offended by the whole thing, and she felt abused by it. Yeah, right. But that was enough for his career to be over. So, of course, the police unions know this. They know that the people who would love to jump into all this and, help the brown-skinned people to hold dodgy police accountable are the same people that were holding these men in power accountable and destroying them over a stupid, immature, childish joke that they did 30 years ago, where he was one of the people who was actually making a difference in his party. I forgot his name. I can't remember his name. He was a comedian as well. But apparently a lovely man, did some great work, certainly challenged the other side and held them accountable, and now he's out of politics because of that. So the people know that. But this is something that needs to be considered. If you're talking about how do you stop there being more people like George Floyd, you've got to get the police reformed. You've got to get the fear out of the police. You've got to get the fear out of the people in communities where these things have been happening and where these things have been taught, the history of these things. You've got to break all of those chains. But you've got to speak about that stuff. You've got to speak about the fact that all that stuff is not helping. Instead, all they do is the same. You could basically just get a march, the video of a march, and people speaking on the march, and just play that. There you go. Exactly the same. You just add a name or two. And there's no point in that. It did nothing in the past. All those marches achieved nothing. Nothing at all. If they had achieved anything, you wouldn't have had Derek Chauvin having his knee on a brown person's neck for 9 minutes, not caring that he was being videoed. So you've got to do something different. You've got to understand that you can't continue to do things the same flipping way. I did the video earlier about positive racism is racism. And that's because of the fact that, again, that comes across as obvious. How does that not come across as obvious? But to enough people, that isn't obvious. It just isn't obvious. People just can't get it. They just don't get that in any way, shape, or form. So, how do you not get it? But that's the thing, is that people aren't talking about anything other than the obvious, which is exactly the same as they were doing before. And none of that achieved a thing. If it didn't achieve anything before, it's not going to achieve anything now. That's the reality of the situation. It doesn't change. It won't. If you don't change the way you're doing things, you're less likely to see any change in what's going to happen in the future. And it's just all the same. Forget about the rioting and the looting. That's normally a different group of people. That is the people who think, oh, another chance to riot, another chance to loot, another chance to get our face on TV because, we're standing up against this horror. Well, hey. Yeah. There's that group of people. There's another group of people who see all these things as, oh, well, here we go. We can then say that any unpleasantness in our lives isn't my fault. Any wrong that I do, any wrong that happens in my life is not my fault. It's the fault of the white man. And listen to a lot of these, certainly these so-called men of God. Reverend Al Sharpton, there was another reverend who was talking and having a similar message. But Reverend Al Sharpton saying that the white man has had his knee on our necks for the last 300 years. Really? That's not helpful. That's not going to help to bring around a new future. All this stuff where people do videos saying, I'm embarrassed to be a white man. What? Why? How is the colour of your skin any embarrassment to you? Did you choose that colour of your skin? No. No more than someone with brown skin chose their colour of skin. Utter stupidity. It's people just playing to the mob, playing to the crowd, and saying, like me. No. There's nothing to like when you're doing that. The right wing, they're going to resist as much as possible for any reforms in the police because, they are the ones who see that the police are of value to them. Even a violent police are of value to them. Maybe because they're the white people. Generally speaking, they don't see that there's any police issues at all to be dealt with. So, they tend to try and stay firm on not having any. Plus, they don't want the left to have any more joy. I think that's mostly the point. They don't want the left to have any more joy because the left have had all this fun destroying politicians, even though they've only destroyed their own politicians, really. I mean, how many right-wing politicians have been destroyed by the left? None. You've had politicians who were right-wing. There was that chap who was, the amount of them that have been accused and actually found guilty, pretty much found guilty of sexual sin. And so outrageous sexual sin. But because they're Republican, they still have the seat. Because nobody in the Republican Party could care less. As long as they held a seat, that was what mattered, really. Whereas the Democrats, no, they were quite happy to destroy their own party to be seen as holy and righteous. Yeah. Sorry about that. I was just putting a cup down and touched something. Oh, dear. The problem is with all this, just doing things the same way, is that we are going to get another incident like the incident with George Floyd. Something else is going to happen where, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 brown-skinned people are going to be unlawfully killed before people wake up and decide to actually try and deal with the real issues rather than these fake news agenda issues that really are not helping the issue. Is it race? Was that the issue? Was that why Derek Chauvin decided he had the right to put his knee on George Floyd's neck? Was it a race issue? Or was it a worthlessness issue because George Floyd is poor? And as poor, he has no value. If it's a worthlessness issue, then talking about it from the point of view of race is not going to help. Now, yes, again, looking at the fact that brown-skinned people get pulled over more by police than white-skinned or pinky-skinned people, yeah, again, that will probably happen because of the fact that the richest people in America are the more pinky-skinned people. There are people who are brown-skinned that are rich and wealthy and powerful, but yeah, not as many. There's predominantly more poor people who are brown-skinned. Now, part of the reason for that is because, yes, they're not given the opportunities. But another part of the reason that is they're not given the opportunities because they're too busy wallowing in the shit of the past. Bringing around all this baggage of the past with them, having this massive chip on their shoulder. Yeah, if you're looking for the right person for a job, and you have these people that have a massive chip on their shoulder, are you going to go for them? Probably not. So some people are intentionally not helped because of the colour of their skin. They had a video the other day about, it was on this Vice News. It talked about there was an affluent part of the city of Charlotte, and that part was called the Wedge. The Crescent was surrounding it. Now, of course, those people in the Wedge, they don't hate the people in the Crescent in any way, shape, or form. They don't want nasty things happening to these people in the Crescent, not in any way, shape, or form. But they don't want the Crescent infecting their area. They've paid a lot of money for their houses because their houses are worth a lot more, right? Their children go to a better school because they paid a lot of money for their houses. So do they want children from a poor area where certainly a great amount of the people don't even own their own homes but are renting because they can't afford their own homes? Do they want those people going to their schools? No. And you see it as understandable because you have the point also from, I think that was in the video of, I can't see it because I've got something else open. Black Lives Matter and brown skin racism. It might have been on that one that I linked that video. But in that video, yes, you had the lady saying about her daughter who was in a better school. Do you want her to continue carrying on that trajectory? And she said, don't know. I'd rather she was with people that she can identify with regards to skin colour. So in a way, her mum was saying that in a way she'd rather her daughter be at the school that wasn't really any use to anyone. Where most people at that school ended up in trouble with the police and in gangs and on drugs and in prison. She'd rather her daughter go to that school because at least she can identify with most of the people there because they'd have the same skin colour as her. Well, if she has the right to say that, then so do the people with the pinky skin colour in the more wealthy area. The problem is that the view is that the brown skin lady, brown skin mother has the right to say that, but the more affluent people with pinky skin don't, because that's them being racist. That's them saying, They don't want brown-skinned children in their schools. They don't want brown-skinned people in their area. And to be honest, that's not the case at all. If you have powerful and rich brown-skinned people that want to buy a house in the Wedge in Charlotte, I don't think the residents in Charlotte would care. That person is wealthy. That person can afford their own home. That child has already been raised or taken to a good school, so they're intelligent. They're going to another good school. They're not going to damage the school or bring it down in any way, shape, or form. So they're seeing someone, basically them, but with a different colour skin. So they're not identifying a problem being with the colour of skin, but a problem being with the position of people within society, with their standing. Someone who has equal standing but different colour skin, they don't look at the skin. People with a different level of standing within society, they don't want them coming in their area. But that's more to do with poverty. It's more to do with the people in the more affluent area not wanting to lose value on their properties, rather than looking at you as a certain skin colour and saying we don't want you in our area. Now, of course, solving that is really difficult, but you've got to understand it to solve it. But instead they just say, oh, it's racism. It's race. They're predominantly white, we're predominantly black, so therefore it's racist. No, it isn't. If your level of understanding can't get past brown skin, pinky skin, if it can't get past that, you have no place in the discussions at all. You shouldn't have any place in the discussions at all, because of the fact that you have an inability to see past the obvious. Unless you can see past the obvious, you're not going to solve a thing. So all in all, these things can be solved, but you've got to understand it properly to be able to solve it. All the while you're seeing it as something that it isn't necessarily, or that maybe it is 5% of the reason, and you're saying that 5% is all of it. You're missing 95% of the reason why there's a problem here. So therefore you're missing the roots. There's these incredibly important roots that have to be dug out, but you can't dig them out. So as I say, with the chip on the shoulder, as soon as people see affluent, white, pinky-skinned people in that area, poorer, brown-skinned people in that area, it's race. It has to be race. No, it doesn't. But automatically, it's so much easier to just blame it on race. Because if you blame it on race, then really you don't need to do anything, do you? You don't need to try and apply yourself better. You don't need to try and make sure that your kids, when they go to school, or even raise up the level of the school in the poorer area. You don't need to try and do any work at all because it's racist. As soon as you just label it racist, that's it, nothing we can do. It's up to them. They've got to stop being racist. Nothing we can do about it. Problem is, it's not race. It's not a racist issue. There are far bigger issues there than race. And if you can't get to them, you won't see any improvement in your area at all. Not at all. And so in Charlotte, you've got brown skin politicians trying to solve the problem, bringing about a 20-year plan, etc., etc., etc. The problem is, unless they understand the real issue there, nothing they try and do is going to work. Nothing they try and do is going to work. because you guarantee that your people in the wedge, they're going to resist any change unless the reason why they don't want change is understood and dealt with. Exactly the same as reform in the police. You've got to understand why they're resistant to change, and you've got to deal with those fears before you can bring about change. If you can't even understand the issue there, you can't deal with it. And this is the problem with the protesting. Whether the protesting, talking about the ones in the UK, America, wherever, or the ones in the city where these things happen, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. It's just the same old protesting, the same old speeches, the same old crowd-pleasing chants, that none of it is doing anything at all. So it's going to happen again. And stop being racist. If you are brown-skinned, you have to understand that promoting brown-skinned businesses, saying that there needs to be brown-skinned people bringing your truth, your darkness into the light, because they're brown-skinned, not because they're the best people for the job, that's racist. And you can't try and tackle racism while being racist. You get away with it for a while, but it's going to bite you in the arse. It really is. I mean, if I was working for Fox, the thing I would do, if I was working for Fox, I would bring every single interview where a brown person was using positive racism, and I would just say, right, from this point of view, from this point on, they can't mention race anymore. If they mention race anymore, they're hypocrites. I'd shut you down straight away. Because you are being hypocrites. So stop being hypocrites. Yeah. Reforms need to happen in so many areas. Things need to change. But understandings need to change. You need to change the way you're doing things. You need to change. You need to take the emotion out of it. Because the problem is when people are highly emotional, certainly the speakers, all they can do is speak from emotion. And emotion is going to be all the stuff that's been said in the past. It's not going to be anything new because they're emotional. They're not doing it from a point of view of reason and understanding and thought and consideration. It's just emotion, raw emotion. And raw emotion is never going to solve anything. It looks good on television. That's it. And media love it. But again, you've got to start playing the game that the media doesn't want you to play. Stop playing the games that they want you to play. Oh, and they do. They love it. When there's a video coming in of a brown-skinned person being abused or being killed by the police in an unlawful manner, they love it. They come in their pants. Oh, they do. That is a shocking thing for someone and the more Christians to say, but that's the purest way I could say it. In the most simple way, most obvious way, the people in media, they really do. Oh, that is... You think about the most mind-blowing sex you could possibly have. That, for the media people, is far better than that. Far better than that. Because they know now they've got your attention. 24 hours, 7 days a week, they can get your attention, which means they get money. Money is what this is all about for the media moguls. It's about money. And they have taken over your grief and your pain to get money. You're going to tell them where to go. Like, there's that clip on YouTube, or there was that clip on YouTube, of those media people, television station. There was the people trying to loot this shop, and the shopkeepers were standing outside protecting their shop. The police came, and the news reporter was confusing the crap out of the police. Police had to actually tell the woman, "Would you please be quiet for a minute? Give us a chance to think." It's portrayed as the police being out of order. And I'm confused. Of course they were confused. There was this man saying, "Oh, they're over there. Oh, but they're over there. Oh, they're over there. Oh, but they're over there." Of course the police are going to be confused. Shut up, woman. It's not about you. It is not about you in any way, shape, or form. Do not let the media take over the agenda. All they want to focus on is race, riots, looting, fights with the police. That's what they want. They don't want the peaceful protesting. As soon as you let them take over the agenda, they are pushing, really pushing, for the riots, for the looters, and for the violent people to come out. Because that is what sells their time. Right? That's what gets people watching their channel. Peaceful protesting with speeches, especially if you're speaking not from a point of view of extreme emotion. No, people won't tune into that. They don't want that. And the problem is a lot of the protesters know that as well, and they don't want that. Yeah? They're okay with the looters and the rioters and the violence because they know that people will tune into that. You've got to get away from all that media rubbish because that's what they want. Well, yeah. I feel sorry for the people. I really, really do, for the protesters. Yeah, for the really true protesters. I do feel sorry for you. I really do. It's a tough situation for you, but you've got to use wisdom. You've got to see what's happening, what is really happening. You've got to change it. Because the way things are going, you won't see any results. You're just going to see a lot more cases of people like George Floyd. And it's horrendous. But that's what's going to happen. If you keep playing this silly game, the media game, and the game that the right wing love you to have, especially when you're speaking racism, you're being racist against white people, or you're being pro-positive racism, then of course they love that. You're playing right into their hands every time. Every time you're playing right into their hands. Stop doing it. If you want to make a change, then make a change, but understand really what's going on. What's stopping the change? What's blocking it? Now, if you look at really what's blocking it, you'll see from both sides things are blocking it. If you, as a group of communities, want to keep telling horror stories to your children, so your children grow up in fear of the police, then don't expect things to change, because they won't. If you want things to move forward, you've got to start doing things differently yourselves. You can't simply expect the police to do it all, and that with them doing it, things will change, because they won't. Because even the most honourable police officer is gonna make mistakes, and especially if they're coming across a group of brown-skinned people that are acting incredibly nervous, that police officer is going to unholster his weapon very quickly, or her weapon very quickly. Because if you're behaving in a nervous way, you're going to make them nervous. And here we go again. Seems to be a very noisy plane overhead. I'm indoors and I can hear that. How rude and inconsiderate. Well, there you go. That would be the point to finish this video for now. It's a fairly long one, 45 minutes in total. You take care. God bless, and I will speak to you soon. Let's bring in that situation hopefully together. Take care. Bye-bye.